Can I be really honest with you? Your turns and falling out of them could be the very reason why you are not making it onto an NBA or NFL dance team. Now, I want to give you a caveat. I remember when it was my first time auditioning for an NBA dance team, I made it to finals and I was one out of 30 dancers. I was technically trained, I was a studio dancer, I was a competition dancer, all these things. I felt technically that I was a stronger dancer than the other dancers in the room, than some of them. And I didn't know all of the things that it takes to become a pro dancer and all of the little pieces that make you into the full package or what is as close to a full package as you can be for the judges to look for. And so I was like, man, why didn't I make it? Now, I tell you this to say there will be dancers who make it onto your dream team who are not technically at the same skill set as other dancers. And if you have not made it onto a team and you're still working on your turns, your leaps, and your kicks, those are the three fundamental pieces of technique that you should have at the very basic. If you're still working on those, you want to make sure that you can do everything that you possibly can to make it a yes from the judges. And either you are a technically strong dancer and you perform and entertain so much and so well that you make it onto a team. The other side is if there's a handful of dancers, maybe one or two, that don't have the technical ability when they show up at auditions, they might skate by because they're amazing magnetic performers. And at the end of the day, you are auditioning to be an entertainer and not necessarily a technician. However, you still need to have those fundamentals to make it onto the team. And there might be one or two outliers every single year that make it on the team. You're like, man, I can do more than she can. And it is just because she was an amazing magnetic performer. And I will say it used to be the case a lot back in the day when I was auditioning. Now the competition is so fierce that you ultimately need to be this really well-rounded dancer with your performance, with your entertainment, with you being a brand ambassador, that ultimately you could have a full squad that has double turns, kicks and leaps, and they're perfect. And that is why I encourage you to really work on your technique and why your technique could be the very thing that is holding you back. In my opinion, there are three things that could be holding you back from your technique and your turns. One, you have the mental capacity of the turn. You have the confidence of executing the turn. And then lastly, you have the actual technique of it. So first is the mental game. Now, I want you to think of the last time you took a class and you were about to do a double turn or even a single turn. What did you say to yourself? What were you telling yourself right before you did that turn? I want you to think about it. And I want you to either write it down or make a mental note. What are the things that you were telling yourself when you were doing something that you think that you are not at the level that you should be? Because that, your belief in yourself, is ultimately going to hold you back. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between truth and fiction. And so if you tell yourself while you're practicing, while you're thinking, while you're driving, I'm not good at turns, I can never execute a double turn, your brain is going to look for the truth, and the execution that comes out of you is ultimately going to be you not succeeding. And so the belief that you have in yourself and your ability is directly tied to you actually being able to successfully execute in any given moment. So that's number one. Those are your beliefs. How you talk to yourself is going to make or break whether you make it onto a team. Next, you have your confidence and your performance of that specific piece of technique, right? If you go to prep and you hold back or you cringe or you make a face, the judges read that in lacking confidence. And then say the floor's sticky and you can't get around. How do you recover out of that? How do you go around and then hit the next pose as hard as you possibly can versus shrinking and being like, oh my gosh, again, I didn't make my double turn, and second guess yourself and get in your own head and then let the entire rest of the routine fall by the wayside, right? How do you recover? How do you have confidence in yourself, who you are, what you bring to the table to then be able to say, you know what, I'm going to show them everything I got outside of that double turn and prove to them that you belong on the team? Because the contradictory part about this is that you're auditioning to be an entertainer and the fans don't know whether or not you can do a double turn. However, it is just a fundamental piece of being a dancer in the NBA and NFL. double turn, kicks, leaps. Kicks more so if you're NFL, right? That is the baseline. That is prerequisites of making onto the team, even though the audience might not know that you're doing it right or doing it wrong. Your judges do, your coaches do, and your teammates do, right? And you get to rise to the occasion of being at the same playing field as your teammates. If you've ever heard the saying, like, rising tides rise all boats, I would say the same could be like an anchor pulls everyone down, right? There's no saying for it, but rising tides rises all boats. But if you are the person draining on your team, it's going to bring everything down. And so that is why these fundamentals are so important as the baseline for you to work toward, because ultimately you don't want to be holding the team back. You don't want to be cut from a routine. And that could potentially happen depending on your team, how they run their program, and how they run routine. And so your confidence in your ability comes through repetition. And so now I'm going to take you into my garage onto the dance floor, and I'm going to talk through some of the fundamentals that you should be thinking about when you're actually thinking about your dance technique. Let's get over that. Okay, so we just talked about the belief that you need to have in yourself and being able to actually do turns. Now I want to talk a little bit about your form and your technique in preparing for turns, and so that when you do show up to NFL and NBA audition, no matter how you're getting into that turn, you are able to fully execute it with confidence. I remember we had a mock audition. This wasn't even the real audition that I was at. We had a mock audition, and Allie taught a sequence, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, prep, turn, turn. And I could just see the dancers who got nervous about it not just being a straight prep. And you most likely are never going to have a straight prep into a turn when you are on an NFL, NBA, or even college dance team. And so being able to excel in that double turn, which is really one of the fundamentals of pro dance, and being able to make it onto a team, you need to be able to have that versatility that however you get into that double turn, you know that you are going to nail it every single time. And so the prep that Allie did was you were walking 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and then you were just turning straight out of that. And just like I said, I could just tell someone would have a nervous face, or like even how they were prepping, they were just like, man, I hope for the best. And that truly is not what you want. And I want you to think about your prep. Your core is tight and you're here. Your arms are going to be the thing that gets you around, along with your plie and coming up onto releve onto that foot. And starting with your prep, you're here, you're solid, you're rock solid. Someone could run into you and you'd still stay in place. This is your base. This is the foundation of your turn that is ultimately going to get you around as many times as you need to go around. And I think when I see dancers, they can get around like maybe 1.5 or 1.25, and then they just pop out. I want you to be so good at your double turn that you are able to come to the front and be able to sustain it for like just a millisecond before you hop out into whatever the next move is, versus, okay, I'm like kind of like hoping that I get to step out of it or jump out of it really quickly because I'm just like not really there, and you're gonna force yourself around. So your prep, again, is your foundation. Your arms are super strong. Like, again, this is if we were in elementary school learning how to turn. I'm going to come around and I'm going to press into your arms, and they're rock solid. Like, they don't move. Okay. Then this arm just comes around, and this arm is going to be the thing that also gets you around. Okay. Here, that momentum gets you around. When you're in this beach ball form, you are also very strong. You're solid. I could come up to you, press on your arms, and they're here. Your core is always tight. This is why you could be falling out of like your kick or your leaps or anything, because you're not activating your core. And it's just one of the fundamental pieces of being a dancer. Your shoulders are down, your core is tight, and you're here. You're rock solid every single time. Okay. So you're here. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that is step 1 of getting you around. Step 2 is that solid base in your legs. So you're here. You don't want to be too far forward, and you don't want to be back. You want to be straight in the center, pushing on that back leg to then come up to releve. And that foot is glued to your side. If you cannot stand here and have a conversation with someone, got to work on your balance. To work on your balance, that standing leg is so strong and I'm squeezing my booty. And then when you're up on releve, it's even more, right? If you need to, grab a wall and just work on your releves here until you can be at any arms and you can just go up and down, right? Now, I'm teaching you some of the basics, but ultimately, if you are auditioning for a NFL, NBA team, you need to have these, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. College dance teams, you have to have a quad. If you are here and you are auditioning for an NBA team, NFL team, and you do not have your double turn, this is something that you need to be practicing every single night. Because the second I see someone fall out of their turn, I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to fight so much more to get the attention of the judge because I feel like you don't have the fundamentals. And I'm just telling you this as honestly as I possibly can because you ultimately want to be on an NBA or NFL team. And the thing that's going to get you there is having these fundamentals. You don't expect Tom Brady to learn how to throw the ball. He already knows how to do it, how to brace for a tackle, how to do all these things. The same is for you. You are auditioning to be a professional dancer. The professional, they are people who get paid for what they do. And you are at the most elite standard of dance to be paid for what you do. And to think that you're just going to skate by with not being able to have a double turn and your kicks on both sides and a leap is just unrealistic. And I want you to be successful. I want you to be able to go into auditions and nail it. And that's why I'm covering some of these fundamentals. So then you can go into any routine and be able to feel like you have so much confidence in your double turn that you could do it. Okay, TED Talk over. Okay, so you're here. You're in between. You're not forward. You're not back. You're solid. Your arms are solid. Then from this back leg, you're pushing up onto releve. I'm not going to do releve right now, just so I'm showing you. Boom. So strong. That foot is pointing. That foot is connected. I see so many dancers like trying to turn from here. I don't know how you're going to get around. This makes you long and tall, like thinking about a string pulling you up. Your core is tight and you're holding. That leg is strong, right? Boom, 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 boom. You're here. My core is in. I'm holding. All of that is just the foundation to get you around. Okay. Next piece is your spot. You want to keep your eyes in the front at all times. If you cannot do this, you need to be practicing this with me. You will get dizzy. Okay. That's okay. That is going to also help you get around. All of these things are working together to get you around. And ultimately, if you can hold in releve for 2 counts and then come down, theoretically, you should be able to turn for 2 counts or a double turn to get around. Okay. So you're here. You press up on releve, hold, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, and down. I fell backwards because I wasn't fully on that standing leg, right? So from here, you need to go hold, and down. These are the elements that are holding you back from nailing your double turn when you're in front of the judges and ultimately keeping you from making it onto your dream team. The basics are the fundamentals that you always go back to and that you should always have. Like just because even if you're an amazing dancer, an amazing technician, you should always go back to the basics because there are things that are going to make you even better. This is actually a good example. So I'm on my mat right now, and I was like, I don't even think I can turn on this. When you're auditioning, you don't know, are you going to be on a court? Are you going to be on a field, AstroTurf, Marley? Your shoes should not dictate whether you can do the double turn. You have to adjust yourself and be able to have so much control over your movement that you can turn no matter what. Because from here, you could either whip yourself around or you can push a little bit harder to be able to actually get yourself around when you're on a sticky floor like this, right? So we hear 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to do a single, 5, 6, down 7, 8. Obviously, don't do this on a yoga mat because it could hurt your toes. But if I'm here on my floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is really slippery because I'm in socks. I am barely, I'm not pushing off that back leg at all because I don't want to fall over. And then if I put on my shoes, I'm putting on my shoes, which you're most likely going to be in tennis shoes of some sort when you're auditioning. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to have to adjust to be able to get myself around. So I didn't push off hard enough because I was only 1 3/4 around, right? So I'm gonna have to push off that back leg to get me around. Ideally, I would have stayed up just a little hair longer before I came down, but hopefully you can see that I pushed off that back leg and I gave myself a little bit more momentum with my arm to get me around. And then when you're coming out of a turn, you could be going back and coming up. You could be coming out and out. You never know what you're going to get. And again, that's really why you want to have so much control out of that prep and have those fundamentals in place so you can manipulate your turn where you need it to go to be able to get around. Right. Those are the fundamentals of why you might not be able to complete your turns at audition. I just want to encourage you that if you are like making it 1 1/4 or 1 3/4 around, that you should be doing these fundamentals on a regular basis. And if you're a beginner, I also want to encourage you to be doing these fundamentals every single night until you get those double turns. And make sure that when you're practicing, you tag me on Instagram at the Cultivate Code. And if you're interested in learning more about our coaching and training program, you can go to cultivatecode.co, or if you want to apply to our training program, cultivatecode.co/apply. And I can't wait to meet you and cheer you on.